Hey everybody, this is Matt from the Brothers of Discussion. I am here to tell you about Anchor and how much I am adoring putting my podcast up on here. Trust me, it has been an absolute blast. We aren't paying the fees anymore. We are now able to give you some sponsored advertisements here, which is going to help us grow the show. We are now on more platforms than we've ever been on before. So this is just working out in spades. But yes, it is anchor.fm. You want to head over there. If you've got a story to tell it on Anchor. Anchor's making it so much easier for the Brothers of Discussion, for your good buddy Matt, and Anchor can make it that much easier for you. We can all be telling our stories. Heck, we have our new promotion going on that we want you to check out, where you're going to send messages through Anchor, and that's going to result in you possibly winning a Drew McIntyre t-shirt. So this is super confusing now. We're talking about promos in the show and Anchor.fm, but it wouldn't be possible without Anchor. So go to Anchor.fm, and when you're ready to tell your story, make sure you tell it on Anchor.
I said, give me a hell yeah!
Hi, everybody, and welcome to a stock number. I wrote dropping, but I'm going to say plummeting. Charlotte Flair invading, and Cody lashing episode of the Brothers of Discussion. We're going to talk everything from the MJF Cody angle on AEW to the continued integration of WWE's quote main roster to NXT. And Matt, the end of the $9.99 WWE Network as we know it.
Possibly.
My God, the sky is falling. Possibly. But guaranteed. But who knows? You're only going to find out right now. Matt!
Is that your ESPN?
Right now!
Oh, man, what?
It just felt right to say. Matt, as you know, another week, another dash of spice and hotness from professional wrestling. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I was really excited to talk today, and then all the wrestling news started coming out. And I was so excited because, Mike, you had Tweet of the Century, it appears, last night. How many people are going to retweet that and say, this is the funniest thing ever? Still waiting on you to send me that video so we could post it on Instagram. But hey, you know, you got to do 2 clicks. Those are 2 rough clicks. Jesus. Anyway, sorry.
Not on Instagram.
I just remembered that I asked you for it, so I thought I'd throw some stank on the opening to the show.
Get it on tape.
Put it on the show. Okay. So if you don't see it on Instagram, folks, it's Mike's fault. All right. Head on over to bodpodcast.com and brothersofdiscussion.com. Check out everything Brothers of Discussion. What we're hoping, too, is let's do this push at the beginning here. We switched our podcast from SoundCloud to Anchor. Why? Well, SoundCloud doesn't really do anything to help you distribute, and they cost money, and Anchor supplies us with advertising, and it's free. Most importantly for you, you can actually go to our Anchor page and leave us a voice message. It's something that we've been tweeting out, so it's as easy as clicking on a button and then speaking into your phone, and that's...
Buttons aren't easy for everyone.
Oh, that's right. We just established that.
Like sharing things on Instagram.
Forgot we just established that.
I've heard.
All right. Well, I promise this is much easier than texting. All right. That might not be true, but we want to hear from you. We've done our Facebook group where we get some comments, but we want to hear your beautiful voices. So head on over there because we can actually have a discussion and expand outside of the brothers. That doesn't sound. That sounds bad. We're the Brothers of Discussion. That's what I'm saying. All right, moving on. Go to @BOD Podcast. Follow us on Twitter, brothers_of_discussion. To go to our Instagram that does not have a video that Mike posted, and go to our Facebook, which is just Brothers of Discussion. So yeah, that's everything there. And we're now on more podcast platforms than ever before. So,
my God,
it's just. Anchor is helping us, so please do us a favor. This is the time to share us. Huge shout out to Amy, who we met up with at the Royal Rumble, and got to sit with her for the whole show. Huge shout out to Amy, who's been really pumping the movement, and I just it should be easier for everybody. The only thing is, if you were a longtime listener on SoundCloud, you are FUCKED. That's right. Fucked. Anyway, moving forward.
Man, you know what we really want is for people to just, not just any audio clip, I want to hear them give their best Drew McIntyre impression when he's saying, Randy!
All right, so you already beat me. So I'm second place right now. So can you beat...
So you can get into second place or maybe even first.
But you got to try.
Yeah.
I actually like that. Why don't we do a little competition? The best Drew McIntyre impression that gets said to us. We're gonna play them.
This is gonna get us a lot of topless, hairy nude shots, but hopefully there'll also be some audio accompaniment. That's what we're looking for here, folks.
Well, what we'll do, Mike, the winner, if you're cool with this, we'll just decide this right now. The winner gets a Drew McIntyre t-shirt. Let's do that.
Boom.
You get to pick, so we won't have it, because it could be a lady or a man that wins. So you got to send in your message. We're going to play them all, and then we'll post them online, and then you guys can give us your votes on who actually won this thing. So, yeah, let's do that. Shit, that'll be nice and easy.
Let's see who can, if whatever you feel right in your heart. If you just want to say, Randy, if you want to count down from 3, if you want to say Brock, Matt, anything else on the table? If you want to say Matt's name as Drew McIntyre, Matt will have a new text message alert.
Yeah.
You'll
if
definitely
you're Drew
win.
McIntyre, please actually, call in and we'd like to interview you.
Matt has his personal cell phone number. He would love to save that voicemail. What a tough pickle for you.
The thing too.
Do you answer the call and talk to him, or save the voicemail for the rest of the time?
Just to sell this a little bit more, now that I'm thinking about it, you don't have to give us your phone number. You just send you hit that button and it just records the message and you're done. You don't have to do anything but, well, there's a profile so that we can actually pick you to win so you can win the Drew McIntyre t-shirt. But you don't you don't have to give us your personal information. We're not going to get that stuff. We'll just have a way to contact you again. So yeah. Yeah,
we don't need your bank account. We don't need to know, if you have maybe money invested somewhere. Maybe you have money invested in the plummeting stock that's the WWE. Matt, what's going on?
Oh, I was having fun talking about our contest. I guess
I know, and I thought we were going to talk about wrestling today, and then you dropped this bomb on me 5 minutes before the show, and I'm like, what? Matt, fill us in.
Wait, what? Fill us in? All right, so the stock took some major drops. I just it's not been doing well. All right, so if I go back, let's see, the last 6 months, these are the lowest points. It's January. I'm sorry. I don't know how to work this thing. It's February 3rd, and then of course today, February 6th, of the last 6 months. Those are the lowest points for this stock, and if we go back a full year, it is worth $44.50 right now. Whole year ago, Mike, $64.22. So there's a lot going into this. I think what you brought up, Mike, about the presidents going down shows that there's the confidence in this company is certainly dipping.
It's wavering, just to put it nicely.
And think about the fiasco out in Saudi Arabia. You know what? I'm such an asshole. I didn't do that right, but what I just said was correct. So here's what I did. I hit year to date instead of 1 year, and then I just went, that's only till January. But no, still the lowest stock point in the last year is it's that number we just talked about. Not as low as going back to let's see, the pre-Saudi Arabia days, but still the lowest point since then. Okay. Back on track. I do apologize that I fudged that up for a second.
This doesn't sound good, but most of us probably don't. literally have money invested in WWE. I mean, T-shirts and the WWE Network aside, Matt, what does this mean with the stock numbers dropping? What does that mean for us, like the common WWE fan?
Well, the stock number represents like where investors think this company is headed. So when it's going up, they think that this company is going to be making them more money in the future. And when it takes these severe drops, there is information out there that probably wasn't talked about in this meeting. And unfortunately, it is illegal. What we're talking about is when this insider information gets moved around. But when you see these huge drops, I think we just have to accept the fact that insider information does get moved. And that information got around. And once people started to see other people selling the stock, then they needed to jump on that bandwagon as well. So it's really the simplest way to put it, Mike, is a drop in trust and lack of confidence in your ability to make money from owning WWE stock. I think that's the simplest way to put it. Because, again, these numbers aren't necessarily an exact representation of like the value of the company. It's a future value. So that's what we're looking at. That's how people are making their decisions to stick around or go, because that future value just seems to actually drops.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us don't really have, like we haven't put money in to get that stock. It sounds like what might happen, though, is to compensate for that, WWE is going to have to look to the unofficial stockholders. That's what I'm going to call us, people who pay monthly for the network, buy merchandise, things like that. And it sounds like we're going to be the ones basically trying to even everything out. Well, it's starting to sound like they're going to have tiers potentially for the WWE Network.
Well, here's the scary thing, because they kind of already have tiers. The scary thing is that they didn't lead on to what exactly the strategy is. So this is when companies really take a dip. Because they're scrambling right now to make a decision that investors will be happy with. And there are companies that waver in stock price, but eventually kind of have a steady incline, or at least, let's stop the
there's ebbs and flows, like
how quickly they're decreasing. But that's because they don't have an immediate reaction. And WWE's immediate reaction is fire people and then announce that there's a strategy coming. And of just classic WWE fashion, they don't know what that is yet. They just know a new strategy's coming. And Mike, that is the scariest thing in the world for an investor. Like, you get into the entertainment realm and it's not something that, I mean, if you have Disney stock, you're kind of like, oh boy, another Star Wars park is opening? Perfect. Yeah, I'll stick around, no problem. But then when the WWE has new competition popping up,
it sounds
they have
like
trouble with their biggest revenue stream, which is Saudi Arabia. Like, that relationship seems to be a big issue. And the ratings aren't that great when they moved over to Fox. So it's just results and sort of the prospectus are all negative. But yeah, go ahead. I keep interrupting your mid-thought.
No, you're fine. It just sounds like they're reacting to the weather instead of the climate.
Oh, that is a perfect way to put it.
Yeah. So it doesn't mean that there isn't climate change,
That was great.
That there isn't climate change just because it might be hot or cold one day. It's about the pattern, the trajectory. And it sounds like WWE's kind of been panicking there, because even with these drops, they're still at, basically in the last 18 months, in good shape. Like, that was the one of their record numbers last year. When the Saudi Arabia money started coming in, they started adding all that viewership. And it sounds like part of this issue is that they're having trouble with the television distribution rights in the Middle East. Something that they thought was going to be, just put a little mustard on the hot dog. This was going to be ready to go, and it doesn't sound like that's happening. It sounds like there's people who aren't happy about that, because of the. Well,
you know what's funny with what you're saying right now, and I'm just going a little bit deeper into these numbers. The largest drop before this was the Jamal Khashoggi murder.
Ooh.
So that gives you an idea of like what's going on with this stock. There's a ton of politics involved. But they were at $96.73. Think about that. We're at $44.50. And right before the Jamal Khashoggi murder, $96.73, and then they dropped all the way down to $62.60. Boop.
Wow.
Politics.
Wow.
That's the trouble with getting your, like, trying to make your company global, is now you don't just have one country's politics to worry about. You have every country's politics to worry about. And that's chaos theory. That's yeah.
No, it sounds like, they're really excited to go, international.
They're really excited to get that
and
money.
Yeah, I don't think it's unlike the NBA when they, suddenly had these weird issues with China, about the players and coaches and GMs like commenting on the safety, the livelihood of, Chinese natives, and suddenly there's these, basketball players who don't even live in the country, throwing their opinions around, and we kind of take some of our freedom of speeches for granted a little bit. And I think that it definitely felt like an invasive intrusion. And it's just something that, you go global and it's not always, rainbows. And I think it's something the NBA kind of had to learn the hard way. Where potentially they could have broken that relationship with China and they're trying desperately to mend it. But with WWE going to the Middle East, it's just tough because it doesn't feel like anybody's rooting for that, bridge to be intact, except for people physically in the Middle East. Nobody likes the product when it goes over there. It's kind of a more than a black eye on the WWE as a company that it's so transparent, like how they're funding certain things, how they are building giant rosters, how they are able to fund expansion, and it's because they're taking money, the blood money. It's just part of our vernacular now. Like we know that phrase because of WWE, accepting this fantasy booking of a rich prince in the Middle East.
Well, it's something, Mike. I want to bring up one thing, and then I want to ask you a follow-up. But like one aspect of the Saudi Arabia relationship is its people, and you definitely see in some of the interviews they've done that not everybody wants to or believes in the leadership of the prince. So one aspect is they are bringing entertainment to that area for those people, right? Like, they're not all bad in Saudi Arabia. Right. The problem is we know where the money's coming from. Like, that's where this whole conversation always starts. But they are doing that. So the follow-up, Mike, is how much of that do you think the WWE actually believes is why they're there? Because I'll just say that is the counter-argument to staying in Saudi Arabia, that you're still giving the people of Saudi Arabia good entertainment to watch, and it's something they want. It's something that they're allowed to pay for. They pay for, and let's not damn the whole area just because of bad politics. But that's where my follow-up question is, where do you think the WWE actually considers that?
Wait, considers what?
The good of the people of Saudi Arabia getting to watch WWE.
Oh, no, I don't think that that's really what they're doing. I don't think they've been searching the globe and they're like, my God, there's, like starving people in Africa. My God, we could be dropping bread off over here. It's
right.
It's not like they saw, my God, the Saudi Arabians don't have a single wrestling TV show to watch. Come on, guys, let's get our ring and ropes together. We're going to put on a big old spectacle in Saudi Arabia. It's like, no, it's clearly about money. But that is a cute idea. I kind of think what WWE has to do is not make these panic moves that damage the one great thing that they've done in the WWE Network, and that's panic and make more changes. If anything, I would just keep maybe, I know it might sound gross, but to kind of Donald Trump their way through this. And I get what I mean by that is there's so many awful things that have happened around him as a politician. Like, people didn't agree with his opinions. He wasn't, super politically correct. He said some pretty hateful things you're not accustomed to hearing from, a nation, like a leader of a nation. But somehow he's kind of marched his way through that. And I guess that's one of the things we've kind of grown accustomed to seeing from WWE, whether, they're being, having wrestlers represent, the Iraqis in the 90s and, having black characters be, these cartoonish birth of a nation, morons.
Not all the time.
They treat the women, put them in mud pies and have them wrestle each other. And they've just kept soldiering on because they just kind of shake off these bad things and say, well, we have enough good ones that they're going to trumpet and you're probably going to forget it. That was a fun way to drop trumpet in there. I kind of think that's probably WWE's best move. And selfishly, for my own desires, I don't want to have to pay for tiered WWE networks to help with their stock prices. But I just, like you said, they could still make this, a positive. Like, they did have, one of the first women's, wrestling bouts on TV. It was an ordeal. People were kind of excited about it, even though they were nervous about it, which is why they didn't, put Becky and Charlotte in the match. But anyway, they know there's an audience there. If anything, this is still the entertainment business. It is a business. It is entertainment. There's people who want to be entertained by it. If this guy's going to give us a blank check and that affords us the ability to have NXT wherever we want, to have an all-women's pay-per-view, they might just have to WWE it. You know what I mean? Or trumpet, as I called it.
Well, let me throw in. Yeah. Let me throw something in here, Mike. What does WWE do best? Do they do pro wrestling best, or do they do international negotiations? I might be leading the witness a little bit.
I mean, they did pry AJ Styles from New Japan.
That's
yeah. I guess I'll do wrestling.
Okay. So instead of like trying to figure out the next big country to work with, or like another big aspect of this is they keep flubbing these cable deals with international companies, and they're not getting good distribution, or the worry is that they won't get good distribution for the deals that aren't complete. So let's go back to the being able to do wrestling and make wrestling decisions, because that's the company they are. Even when you talk about Disney going international, it's a completely different. It feels like it's a completely different conversation, because Disney goes international into the film industry, and WWE is kind of going like, well, we're entertainment, and we're gonna give you your first dose of like major pro wrestling, and there's movies everywhere. So when Disney goes international, we know what movies are. And I'm not saying this is their first experience in pro wrestling, but I mean, for like something major like this, like the WWE, and how big a spectacle it is, I'm talking too much. Yeah, let me throw out my solution. Mike, New Japan Pro Wrestling, 2 nights for Wrestle Kingdom. Why the fuck doesn't WWE just go, let's do 2 nights of WrestleMania, and we'll have huge matches on night 1, even bigger matches on night 2, have tiered pricing for night 1 and night 2, but collect, buco bucks and fill up a stadium 2 nights in a row. Because you're going to fill up Monday Night Raw, right? The next night. And I just do it. Just do Saturday, Sunday is WrestleMania weekend. And have some things decided on Saturday, just like New Japan, and have it just, have the culmination on Sunday. And then for some of it, you're just, we're talking about 15 matches right now, I think, at WrestleMania. This was the news 2 days ago. Why not just do 2 nights? So then I don't have to watch wrestling for 12 hours on Sunday, because I don't want to do that. And then I don't miss anything, and I don't have to come back later. I can just do 3 hours on Saturday, 3 hours on Sunday. WWE gets to fill up a football stadium 2 nights in a row. They don't have to move. Think about the cost that they incurred to move this circus. Now they don't have to do it, and they can collect maybe not double the revenue, but a lot more revenue for the setup involved. The supply chain aspect is there. The audience will be there. The idea that this is better for the viewer so that they're not watching 12 straight hours of wrestling in one day, you give them 6 in 2 different days. If it was all about advertising, have somebody sponsor day 1 and have somebody else sponsor day 2. It's so easy. And you know what, Mike? I'm not reading this anywhere. This isn't on dirt sheets. This isn't what Bleacher Report suggested. This just popped in the old noggin. And it was just because we were spitballing ideas. Stop trying to figure out, like, the digital space. Stop trying to figure out, if we'll have some people pay $16.99 for the network, and then those cheapos, they'll pay, like, $7.99, and then there'll be this other... No, stop trying to cheat the system. Just go figure out pro wrestling, and do that as good as you can. And I think that starts with viewing it, and, maximizing your revenue on just straight-up viewership. Damn it. It's their second biggest event next to the Saudi Arabia events. So try and get it closer to being your number 1 event again.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna, say that's a bad idea. WrestleMania does kind of drag on a little bit for one day. It would be, my own selfish interest to move it to 2 days, but I don't think that this desire is going to go away, and I think they're going to keep getting sexy offers to take the circus on the road, and go to other countries. I think they kind of saw the dollar signs and said, we'll figure out that other stuff, once the event's over. We'll call it a Royal Rumble. That's what people like. Let's do the biggest, greatest, grandest Royal Rumble. I don't know. The solution for me, I think it would be a nightmare for them to, make certain WWE network prices like $16.99 or $17.99. I think people would really get mad and quit. I think they would probably stop doing it and go to some other wrestling show. They would
right, like
some marketing wizards to keep people around for that, because I think the only one that is, above, around that $10 mark is Hulu, and that's just because it's live and it has all that extra stuff with it. Maybe if they figured out some way to, you could watch Fox, kind of Hulu style. You could watch Fox SmackDown and USA on this new thing that they would do, but outside of that, I don't know.
But think about how long it took Hulu to get live TV. Now you're asking the WWE to go through that.
Well, if we're talking about the company WWE, we're talking about Vince McMahon, a guy who has the balls to not just fail at XFL, he's going to do it again. A guy who, put his whole reputation on the line to try and do WrestleMania when it first, happened. A guy who, went up against Nitro, even though he was losing for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and watching his, superstars that he created walk away, Hogan, Macho, Nash, Scott Hall, all those guys. I don't think that he's going to want to just play it safe.
You know what day I think he decided to shoot his shot again with the XFL? It was September 28th, 2018, when the stock hit $96.73. Well, what are we going to do with all this money?
I'm going to do that goddamn football league if it's the last thing I do. What if he dies on Saturday? What if the stock drops to $9.99? The stock drops to $9.99. And
then they'll do advertisements during Raw to pick up your... get your WWE stock for $9.99.
Matt, I don't know if we can linger much more on this topic. It sounds like bad news. And ultimately, Matt, if you're going to sum it up in a sense, I'm going to do mine first. I would just keep following the plan. These people are going to fall off, but they'll be back. That's what wrestling is. It's a tale as old as time. They leave, and then they come back because it's still ingrained in them. So, yes, the Saudi Arabia thing looked like a nightmare. First it was paradise. Now it's starting to, even out a little bit, but I think it's going to go back up. So I wouldn't make all these panic moves. Matt, if you're going to try and sum up your thesis over there.
No, I'd agree, and I think what's funny is it's a panic move on the investors, and then a second panic move by the WWE to say, well, we're changing everything, so if you're hanging on now, just keep hanging on. Which if I heard that, and I was one of those guys that move my stock all the time, then I'd drop it like a bag of rocks. But Mike, I'd say one of the moves that's kind of akin to try and make sure these Saudi Arabia relationships are all shored up, comes with our next topic. Like, Bill Goldberg's going to tell us who's next.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy. Hopefully it's not somebody as big as The Undertaker. Hopefully it'll be like a little... Well, I guess he already fought Ziggler. Let's do a little Riddle. Let's have Matt Riddle get a shot. Let's see if he can shoot a shot.
So before we
doubt that Goldberg
before we fantasy book this, is this for Saudi Arabia?
I think so.
It's not for WrestleMania, is it?
Oh no, I think there's a Saudi Arabia thing in the middle.
Okay.
I don't know. Ricochet's getting a title shot. Where's that happening? I honestly have no clue.
It's what do they call it? Battleground or Fast Lane? I just know that they're not doing the Elimination Chamber, which kind of bums me out.
Oh well, that is a bummer.
If you're gonna fantasy book, I almost called him Lesnar. If you're gonna fantasy book Goldberg again, who's next? Is that who you want? I mean, that's who I want, but I don't think that they're gonna let Riddle do that, are they? Are they gonna let him school Goldberg at wrestling?
Right, you put it the right way. Is that going to happen? No. Is it yeah, okay, Thursday, February 27th, Super Showdown. There you go. Where was my head at? Is Riddle going to win? Absolutely not. I think they'd have to sit down with Riddle and go, all right, you got to let Goldberg win, otherwise you can't fight Goldberg. So I think that right. I think that might be the long and short of it. But I mean, all right. So, who do we want to put in this match? Did he already fight Triple H? Is that?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, that's fine. Hopefully, it's not like Edge.
Oh
Edge is gonna die.
Oh no!
That's the end of Edge.
God, I don't even want to think about that match.
I know. I mean, it would be nice to see like Kevin Owens get like a rematch and win. But again, we're talking about Goldberg and his ego. Like, he can't make a post on social media without losing his shit because everybody tells him how much he sucks at wrestling.
So let's do this. Instead of guessing who it would be, Matt, what would be your ideal Goldberg matchup?
Like, pick who's gonna win. It's kind of sound you said we're not gonna pick who he's facing, but what's the ideal?
What's your ideal?
Is that what you want?
What's the ideal for Matt to see Goldberg? Like, what's gonna make you tune in?
Drew McIntyre, and it's a squash, absolute squash.
It's a 3-second match where he just countdowns the Claymore.
Yeah, like I want to see the exact same story that was told when Goldberg took down Lesnar, but I want to see McIntyre take out Goldberg. I think, like, if they could actually sit down with Goldberg and go, hey, you know how there's like short-term gain and long-term gain? Well, we're trying to build a company here, and we're going to give you money. So let us build a super-duper star, please. We'll give you money.
I would like,
and they start sliding the money towards Goldberg.
I would like him to do that for Matt Riddle. I would love to see him attempt a spear, Riddle with the old leapfrog, and then gets him in the bro mission. That would.
Yeah, but you're talking about that. That would be amazing. But I still feel like we're talking about like a legit feud with two human beings, and now it just would feel like WWE's like, hey, Bill, hey, what's going on? You know, no, Bill, stop swearing. Can't get through this phone call if you don't stop swearing. Bill. All right, Bill hung up. I mean, that's how I picture it. As long as they said Matt Ritt, they're gonna lose Goldberg. That just seems so. All right, so let me say this: if they did that,
hello, Bill, yes, it's me. No, I'm not gonna talk about that. Just listen. Riddle me this,
bro, listen.
Riddle me this. Bill, come back. I hung up. All right, I thought I had him.
If he did that, I would change my entire perspective on Bill Goldberg, and I would ask for forgiveness for all of the shit talking I've done for his shitty wrestling, and I'd also be like, all right, it's okay that Kevin Owens lost to him because now Matt Riddle beats him. But I just, a Super Showdown, they want to see the old farts win, and I think they do.
Yeah, you know what? One quick thing before we move on, because this is such an awful point. Just talking about who cares who's next for Goldberg. It's just one little nugget that reminds me that Lesnar is not as bad as we say sometimes, because at least he does, take bumps for Ricochet. My God, he took a kick in the nuts. He took a Claymore from McIntyre.
Yeah, Mike, we're always looking for reasons to watch Super Showdown. Ricochet is going to get his title shot. We could actually get to see a fun, Ricochet's not going to win, but we might get to see like a Finn Balor type match for Ricochet against Brock. To your point, I think as much as I have forced myself to never turn into these Super Showdowns, I like Ricochet enough that I'm going to think about it.
Ricochet, I think more than anyone right now on the main roster, really needs like a coming out party, because if he's done in 30 seconds for this match, man, because the way he's been booked since he's been on Raw and SmackDown has just been brutal. If he could last 10 minutes in this match, I think that's a win for him.
Whoa, I would say like maybe. I mean, I guess 10's a good number to work with. That was fun, Mike. I'd say 9 minutes and 30 seconds. Where the fuck's your head at? What the fuck? I thought about what I was about to say, and I went, no, I'm gonna sound like an asshole. I was gonna say 8 minutes. Like that makes a big difference. But yeah, I mean, 5 minutes is kind of where my head's at to start. Like if you had said anything before, we started even talking about Ricochet and how nice Brock Lesnar is, I probably would have put 5 minutes on it, but as long as it's not a Kofi one move done, I think that's also a big win for Rick, because he's also not established like Kofi Kingston, and especially like Drew McIntyre getting those kicks in and knocking him out of the Rumble. Those are established guys. Those are guys that were ready for the push, and Ricochet is not, right?
Yeah, I think that's the toughest one to like win over Goldberg. Like, remember Daniel Bryan was wheezing, like his lungs had collapsed, and he fought AJ, and AJ's been in the game for 20 years, killing himself out there all over the world, and same with Finn Balor and Kofi. He's only got one pectoral left. I mean, I think Brock really looked at those guys and said, man, these dumb fuckers want to fight me. All right, I'll sell for him a little bit. Like, you could kind of see it in his face. But Ricochet, I don't know. It's like he's too pretty. Like, I could see Brock getting kind of mad and working stiff on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would almost say, like, I'd rather see Brock versus Nakamura in a different setting, but this kind of feels like a Nakamura Brock would have been a good move at this point. It's, before Nak is gone and before, I don't know, something changes with Brock. But
well, as far as like protecting your assets, because Ricochet just keeps losing. He's just in a weird tailspin right now where he doesn't win. So at the very least, it's kind of like they looked at the roster and looked at this guy and said, you're going to keep losing, but at the very least, you're going to look good doing it. So we're going to have you fight the biggest man in the company, Selridge. We're going to have you fight. Nobody's seen that movie. Listen to this podcast. He's going to fight the biggest man in the company. And as long as he's not embarrassing himself in 30 seconds, he's going to look pretty tough. I think he needs to look tough for once.
Well, also some more I don't know. What do we want to say? Some fantasy booking, Mania predictions. Oh my god, I hate fucking Red Wings. God damn it. Anyway, fucking just gave up the game tying goal with 40 seconds to go. I thought we were going to win. All right, Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley are going to go at it at WrestleMania, it looks like. That's pretty cool. Oh, God, you should take it away. I'm so goddamn angry right now. Not about Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. This is what I said last week. Like, it's all worthwhile of Charlotte winning the Rumble if it means a Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley. And I don't know how these rumors got started. Like, who's passing on that information? Like, this would be, God, that would have been so much fun to have that be the surprise. And then when Rhea comes out, you're kind of like, oh, I guess that rumor was true. Instead of going, what the fuck, Rhea Ripley's here, yeah. So then Charlotte, we'll talk about it later in the show, but yeah, Charlotte shows up on NXT. Potential, Mike, for triple threat, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, and Charlotte, or at least
I can't say it enough.
I
hope that's not the case, just because I think WrestleMania would be best served with 3 singles matches with some of the best female wrestling in the world. If you could get Becky and Asuka to continue their feud, get Bayley and Sasha finally to have their breakup match, I think people would really be electric for that, honestly. And then have the most highly revered woman in WWE, whether you like her or not. She's the Roman Reigns of the women's division, Charlotte Flair, going up against the Young Buck, helping to get Rhea Ripley over. I think that would be a great WrestleMania. Like those 3 matches, Orton and Edge, whoever the Fiend fights, Brock versus Drew McIntyre. That sounds like an A+ WrestleMania to me.
I totally agree. I just it kind of felt like they were teasing that, and that there was some potential of Bianca Belair and Charlotte going at it. But I completely agree with you. We talked about it. We talked about it last year, where I didn't like the triple threat because I want Charlotte to be in a spot where she can help sell another match. And honestly, Mike, now that we're not even talking about the NXT Women's Championship anymore, and we're going the NXT Championship. You're gonna put that on a whole nother level. You're gonna help the ratings for that NXT program, the little NXT program. I don't know if you heard of it. It's on Wednesdays, going up against AEW. But you know what? We should talk about that. Like, of all the winners in this, it's us. Like, I can't stand, Mike. Wednesdays, my least favorite thing now is hearing people complain about Finn Balor being on Wednesdays, now Charlotte Flair being on Wednesdays, that it's not fair that No, just, look, I tuned into AEW and saw some amazing stuff. I guess we'll talk about it later. But WWE just is putting out this amazing product on USA for NXT. And I just don't understand how people get upset that there's a great product on and they put an asterisk on it and say, well, yeah, they have all this money. So what? Take the product. You're paying for your cable. You're paying that cable bill. Get the good wrestling. And I'm not saying watch WWE over AEW. I'm saying do not complain about the fact that one of the biggest female talents in pro wrestling has decided that it is worth, or it's probably not always their decision, but it's probably partially. It is worth her time to go to NXT and rekindle that fire and then face probably who's going to be the top superstar in women's wrestling within the next year, which is Rhea Ripley.
I mean, it's a little bit like let's do like a pop culture example, because those are always our favorite on this show. We're about to have WandaVision. It's going to be Scarlet Witch and The Vision are going to have their own TV show on Disney Plus. That sounds like a lot of fun. But my God, on the bench, you could just have like the Hulk or Captain America have a cameo, and it's still the show of Wanda and Vision. But it just adds a little something to see the these lesser characters rub elbows with the top level talent, and then you can kind of see, oh, they can actually stand toe to toe. It's not just God managed to reach down and grace us just by touching our fingers. we have characteristics that, maybe a left turn here, right turn there, we would be up at that point. So I think when you put Charlotte up there, she's Captain America. She's the Hulk, and she's coming down to see NXT and essentially get over the entire division. That's what you're doing. So you're actually helping an entire, roster of women. I don't see a negative in that. I think it's a fantastic idea. It's like when we're watching Mandalorian, Matt. My God, what if Chewbacca made a cameo? And it's not just for the pop. It's you kind of get to see how those characters interact with that, and another left here, right there. They could be our beloved character, and it's just to kind of almost like a humanitarian thing where you can kind of see how close, talent-wise. Now we'll bring it back to wrestling. Bianca's got the power. Rhea's got otherworldly charisma. To see them go up against Charlotte like that, it's all value for everybody involved. So I think if you're seeing a negative in that, you're doing yourself a disservice as a viewer.
I totally agree. I think you just got to eat it up. Now we brought up Asuka and Becky already, so I guess we can kind of bounce over that. Mike, just a quick thing is Timothy Thatcher is at the Performance Center, former tag partner with Walter with the I can't remember what their old stable was called in the Indies, but looks like with Imperium gaining some popularity after Worlds Collide, it could be gaining another member. Which I think would be pretty neat. Yeah, Marcel Bartel's old tag partner. So a lot of exciting things going on. Because of all that money that the WWE used to have, and we'll see what's happening going forward. What's funny before all this news popped up is that the WWE was rumored to be speaking with Okada, which would be amazing. I don't know how to even think about that. Like, the first thing I saw was how upset people were, and they're like, well, they're just going to ruin them. But no, I mean, just imagine seeing Okada in WWE and all the names that he could be fighting on a weekly basis. I think that is exciting enough. But it's unfortunate that we had to kind of turn the story around, and I guess I'll just mention that's running around the rumor mill. And take it with a grain of salt, because the story is that Triple H is trying, but who wouldn't? So I'd love to have Okada as a talking head on our podcast on a weekly basis, but here we are. Anyway, I don't know. I don't even really want to talk about this at this point, but Angel Garza too, taking Andrade's place, kind of weird.
Yeah, didn't he fail? Didn't Andrade fail a drug test or a performance-enhancing drug test?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because it feels like they want to keep his momentum going, and there isn't really a punishment besides losing this time. Do you feel like that's right? Like, I think we've seen in the past guys, really lost their momentum because of these issues with breaking the policy. But with Andrade, it kind of just seems like they're going out of their way to make sure the momentum isn't broken, and there's a reason Andrade isn't actually around.
Yeah, it's a weird spot for them to be in, because they still really like Zelina Vega's work. It feels like they're like, God damn it, we put so much effort in Andrade, now you got to do this. Ugh. All right, well, we're going to keep it going, but we're going to keep the seat warm for you. We don't do it again, So I think it's just funny that we've all just taken it in stride that they're like, all right, batter up the next Latin guy. All right, Angel Garza, guess what? You're getting a push now. It's such a blatant WWE thing, and nobody's talking about it. It's just the next Latin guy. Yep, you're going with Zelina Vega. Isn't she with Aleister Black? No, she looks like she'd be with Latin people. Okay. I mean, she could go with Aleister. Right, no, Latin guys. Look at her skin. And here we are. So I think this story was two things. One, interesting that they want to maintain Andrade's momentum, like he said. Two, that they want to feature Angel Garza. He's kind of getting that Street Profit treatment, where it's just like, well, he's just main event now. Okay, and we're all just doing it. And then the third,
we're all just okay with this.
Yeah, he's fine. He rips his pants off. He's awesome. All right, and then I guess the third thing is, we all just let it go because these guys are vaguely the same skin tone, and nobody says a peep. It's just okay.
Yeah, it's. I don't know how much deeper I can't really take another shot at it because I think we both agree on that end, and then from the breaking policy side of things, it just seems odd what's going on. But I don't know. I guess in the long run, I don't really care when these guys break the policy. Like it just,
no, and I don't think WWE does either.
That's
why this is just like, all right, you have to be off TV for a while. You'll still have your momentum.
Yeah.
But we are going to replace you with a different Latin guy, just so you can kind of see what we would have had.
And what's funny is these policies are just so that, they aren't losing stock. that stock price isn't falling. You don't want to see steroids. You don't want to see drugs being passed around by your, the child heroes. But ultimately, these guys are human, and like you got to let them enjoy life a little bit. So I don't know if the news was actually out there when Andrade failed. But either way, I really do not give a fuck. I say do whatever you want to your body. It's your call.
Yeah, wrestling hurts.
I guess.
I mean, whatever keeps you alive, I'm on board with that. I just want to touch on one quick thing that much the way we complimented Brock Lesnar and his ability to give a hoot about getting over little guys, Rey Mysterio's done a fantastic job
little guy.
Getting over the whole Latin division, it feels like. I mean, whether he's fighting, Carrillo, or whether he's fighting Andrade, and now he's, fighting Angel Garza. He's been out there giving you a very easy rooting interest, for a lot of, the kids who are wearing the luchador masks. And all he's done is make these guys look credible. And it's so funny to, the point you're making earlier about people, making a grumpy in their pants because, Charlotte and Finn Balor are going to NXT. It's like, well, Rey Mysterio's doing the same thing. Like, they're just sending the NXT guys up to him, but he's still accomplishing the same goal. So it just seems kind of talking out of both sides of your mouth, where I'm actually in favor of doing this instead of having, the old guard fighting for championships. No, instead they're trying to get over younger people, which is what we've wanted all along.
Yeah, as long as woo, man, we gotta wrap up soon. I'm yawning. As long as Drew McIntyre's in the main event scene, they can do whatever they want on a weekly basis.
Now, hopefully, Brock sees Drew as a little guy and helps him get over it. That's what we're hoping for. But Matt, every week,
it's
the Wednesday Night Wars, where we.
Sorry, you were gonna build it up.
Matt was gonna barf it up. So we both tackle a show. It's a lot of wrestling to watch each week, and we try to give you the top 3 moments from each show. Matt, I'm going to go first. Moment number 3 for me was the hottest thing on Twitter since, Ricky Gervais. Matt, I made a tweet about Jon Moxley dangling his car keys. And people lost their minds. So if that's why you're here, thank you. I thought it was funny, too. Apparently, the actual bit had something to do with, this whole running gag that he left the inner circle, Moxley. And when he was presumably going to join, he's going to get an entry gift of a car from Le Champion, or if you're Jim Ross, El Champion, because he, has only been to Texas. I can't believe every time he still calls him El Champion. It was a funny bit.
He's a special guy.
I helped get over the Brothers of Discussion, more importantly. And Matt, it really feels like Moxley in the joke that got over. It was about him, targeting 0 to 6 month old children who like when things like keys dangle in their face because it's funny. But addition to that, he also, has an eye patch that it looks like he's just going to wear going forward. Why do I always want to call him? I always want to call him Excelsior every week, Matt. So I'm going to start doing it. Excelsior on commentary has been calling Moxley the Big Boss, which it's a Solid Snake reference. It's a video game reference. Matt, Moxley is a man.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
He is a man for all seasons. I think that was a Charles Dickens book. It was a Superman for all seasons. And now there's a Moxley for all seasons. Matt, that was moment number 3. Matt, what was moment number 3 for the NXT?
Well, I was going to say, the way I was going to build up this week is I thought it was one of the best overall like Wednesday Night War weeks we've had since this has begun. Both shows turned in A+. And, well... All right, we'll talk about that later. Number 3 for me was Jordan Devlin and Tyler Breeze. I just couldn't have been more tickled to see the Irish Ace hitting the darker NXT ring mat. And then, of course, getting Tyler Breeze out there. He did another great job selling. We talk about, like, on more of a micro scale of, like, what Rey Mysterio does. Here's Tyler Breeze coming in with all the love and fanfare from the NXT fans, and he immediately gives it up for Devlin. And I just, these two put on a great match, had some great false finishes. They were really crisp, Mike. And sometimes we've talked about NXT going live and some issues with some clumsiness and something that they were able to hide when it wasn't a live show. But this was not clumsy. This was definitely the highlighting a guy like Jordan Devlin who deserves like a major role with the WWE eventually. And he's not the same height as Finn Balor, but he's still got the same face. We'll say that at least. But no, he's got a similar build from top to bottom. And I see star power in this guy, and he turns in good promos, and he's exciting to watch. So this just
it reminds me of Jordan, like that comparison you were making. It's like when you were a little kid and there was like fruit snacks, and so there's like a Finn Balor fruit snack, and if you just kind of mush it just a little bit, you get Jordan Devlin. My moment number 2 in AEW, we've been pooing for weeks. Even Cody Rhodes was saying, sorry, don't call him Rhodes. Cody was saying, give me some feedback. And we all gave him hell. Let's see this women's division get some characters, you son of a bitch. And by God, he did it. This week, Yuka Sakazaki, who also goes by the Magic Woman or something. I don't know. Terrible nickname. It definitely had like the first Spider-Man movie, Human Spider. That sucks, you know. So Human Spider was out there against Britt Baker, and Human Spider actually got the win on a roll-up, which I don't think they really gave it the proper momentum, like build-up, where when she won, the crowd was just like, oh, I guess we'll start clapping. There goes the bell. Just kind of an abrupt finish. But the real magic was afterwards, because they've been trying to get Britt. They tried to start off kind of as a face, and I don't think that was really working. The last week they had her cut that promo on Jim Ross being senile, which was funny, but didn't really get her over as a heel. This week she actually got to sink her teeth into being a heel. And she took the Human Spider's face, mashed it into the ropes. And the gimmick was that a tooth fell out in a little pool of blood. It was pretty shocking because you don't usually get to see that kind of stuff for women's division in AEW, let alone WWE, Big Papa Bear. So it was a treat to see. It was inspiring to see. It makes you excited to see more of this women's division. That it's not all just based on who's going to fight for the championship belt this week. It feels like, my God, we have an evil son of a bitch on the roster, and now we have somebody to hate. Maybe they're finally building a female MJF over there.
Oh boy, yeah, no, it's good news to see. You wanted to always see some effort, It was Matthew of Botchmania that pointed out that he watches WWE programming and he can immediately point to those, who's number one, and I guess just who's below, like who's that second tier. And his problem was that it's so tough to figure out, like who are the people that you need to give the time to, and I guess there's some credence to that idea of like, well, anybody could fight for this championship. Which when you go to wrestling Twitter, you kind of see like, yeah, Shorty G, he's got to get a shot, man. This is ridiculous. But I kind of like the thought process that Matthew had, where it's just kind of like, there's better stories to be told when it's not just right, when it's not just that. I don't know. That I enjoyed reading his thoughts. All right, so my turn, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're pausing for. Sorry, I'm also building up our graphic for today. Number 2. There's two returns, we'll say, happened. Number 2 for me was Charlotte Flair's return, because I think we kind of saw it. Well, we definitely saw it coming because they started teasing it from the beginning of the episode. But yeah, the whole go around between Charlotte and Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair was an absolute joy, and Charlotte barely said a word, and those Bianca really got over. Her facial reactions did everything for that segment, and then you kind of saw this element of how special NXT is compared to the main roster, and they're still trying to build up. You're not better than us just because you're from the main roster. We're our own brand, and they're still proud of that. And I kind of like that aspect where they're not just immediately going like, well, Rhea wants to fight main roster people. They were cognizant of like this idea or aware that this could become an issue later where they're underselling NXT and Rhea could only find true competition on the main roster. So they did a good job of covering their bases with this. Mike, your number 1?
No, I was just going to say,
did you want to comment on that?
I think Belair, the way she did those facial expressions, it definitely kind of reminded me a little bit of Little Miss Bliss. I think Bianca's really close to being like an unbelievable pro wrestler. If she has the power moves and she can just clean up, a little bit of the mat stuff and just figure out like her comfort zone for promos, she's already got the unique look. Nobody has her strength, but she could be really scary good. I'm going to say number 1 moment for AEW, though. I don't think it can not be Cody taking 10 lashes from MJF. I was reading some analyses about it, and it's more than it just being a great wrestling gimmick, because what it does is it establishes for you, the audience, what an evil motherfucker MJF is, and Cody being willing to like eat up all that pain just so he can get the chance to beat up MJF next time. That crowd was like dying for Cody. And honestly, one of the talking points I was reading about, Matt, was I don't know who else could have really done this spot like Cody. I think a lot of people could have been, MJF just whooping on somebody, but to really sell like that, like just like on one half you're almost this, pathetic broken character who's, literally like Jesus Christ getting beaten into the earth. But then on the other side, still having that like steadfast determination to keep grinding through this abuse. It's a rare bird who could, pull that off. And it definitely made me think about those anecdotes about Cody taking acting lessons, to figure out how to be the best pro wrestler he can be. I don't even think Jericho, who, he's, Mr. Charisma, can get anything over. I don't even think he could have done that. Matt, I'm catching you unprepared. I'm trying to dawdle this question to give you a little extra time to think of it. But my God, can you picture anybody else like right now taking that spot and running with it like Cody did?
I mean, really take. I mean, I think we know from like a delivering like the idea of pain perspective, and you're gonna laugh, but you know, I always come back to Ziggler. I'll side with you and say no. This is a great spot.
Yeah,
for Cody.
I mean, and I love we both love Ziggler. We both appreciate his work. It just feels like he would have just taken that and he would have just been the whipping boy and just been done and out for like 3 months, like kayfabe or something. But Cody, this just like the way they sold it, and they had the Young Bucks coming out to like plead with MJF. They had Arn Anderson coming out, and then like the crowd broke when Brandy came out because you could see the tears in her eyes, like, please just stop doing this. This is ridiculous. But Cody wanted to keep fighting through it so he could get that payoff to fight MJF. This was, man, it was a really incredible segment. I do wish that they hadn't done it in Black History Month, but outside of that, it was a pretty well-scripted moment to make you excited for the pay-per-view. But, Matt, the Wednesday Night Wars are not over. There is one more moment here from NXT. Matt, what was your top moment?
Well, we got an amazing main event with the Broserweights and Ciampa going up against Undisputed Era, but we were getting teased about a big return, and man, they really took some liberties in what the hints were. Jesus. But yeah, I would argue there was zero hints at all. But a lot of people are already guessing it was Velveteen because who else is going to make the return? But yeah, Velveteen Dream comes back. Mike, talk about sloppiness. Holy shit. Those are the worst punches I've ever seen Velveteen Dream throw. So I'm excited to see him get some work back in the ring. But his return was fantastic, and the showman that he is, even with those terrible punches, and he's got to beat up 4 guys at once, and he's so much bigger than the rest of them, so it kind of looked like he was pushing like little kids out of the ring. But yeah, it was a great segment. It was a great return. It was something in my head, I wasn't actually really prepared for that. I had completely forgotten about the little circle thing with the date. So to me, it was a fun surprise. I know there were folks that were chatting about it even before the show started. I didn't even see that chatter till it was done, so I actually lucked out in that sense. But yes, easily. Number 1, you get the return of Velveteen Dream, and we were talking about him coming back in the Rumble. Now that we've seen the Rumble, maybe that wasn't the best spot for him, but I do like where this could be headed, and I like seeing Dream mixed up in the main event. That's it's not the most we can ask, but it's right now. That's where Velveteen should be. I think he's earned it. I think he's in this spot where anything he does will be beloved by. I don't know why I said be loved. It's going to be loved by the fans no matter when he dies. I'm sleepy. I think the one last little interesting piece about the timing of Velveteen Dream's return is that I can't believe he got like magically healthier in 10 days since the Royal Rumble. So this proves my point that I think that everything in that Royal Rumble was done for Drew McIntyre. So if Dream had come back and he had taken that spot that Matt Riddle had taken in the Rumble, I think people would have been a little bit grumpy. I don't think they would have been as happy about McIntyre's win. I think McIntyre's going to be your champion come WrestleMania. Yay!
Consider those tea leaves spread. Matt, I'm ready to ride off into the sunset.
Yay. All right, everybody, go check us out at BOD Podcast on Twitter, BODpodcast.com, and brothersofdiscussion.com, and head over to our Anchor webpage. That's right, Anchor. We have the links up on the website now. So go find it and send us some voice messages of your Drew McIntyre impression. We'll do this. Why don't we do this up until, I don't know, WrestleMania?
Yeah.
Why don't we say that? For now. Going up until WrestleMania, you got to give us your Drew McIntyre impressions. We'll play them on the show, and we'll have the listeners vote and let us know who they think wins. All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Bye!